Well, we've got the next generation of triathletes ready to go here. Oh, this is our Las Vegas Tri Club Spotlight. We've got Bob Gamble, co-host. Hey, Bob, how's it going?
Fine, John. Have a good evening to you.
There you go.
As you can tell, we'll get started here. I got to get the hard drive spun up to speed
There
here.
you go. And this is going to be a great spotlight because it is with one of our younger triathletes, under 20, 19-year-old Colby Gamble. Hey, Colby, how's it going?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Doing good. And I emphasize that because one, you've broken into triathlon and you're just really taking off, and it's so cool to watch you race each race that you've done so far. And you are the next generation. You are the new triathlete that's going to carry the sport forward. So this is really exciting to hear about you getting involved with triathlon, some of the highlights that you've had, even the short career, and then talking about where you're going to go next. But I'm getting too deep, so I'm going to turn it over to Bob for the official introduction.
All right. Thank you, John. It's good seeing you. And thank you so much, Colby, for being on here tonight.
Of course.
And as John and I mentioned, we don't know how we have skipped you for so long. We should have had you on a while ago.
No.
For the folks who are listening, Colby's 19 years old, did his first triathlon in October of 2022, which was like a year ago.
Yeah.
And it was Pumpkinman, which is a pretty tough race. And people come from all over the country to do that. And Colby finished third, not in his age group, but overall. And
Yeah.
this is where we had a headwind the entire time
Right.
from the swim was canceled because the wind was so strong. But he finished third, and then joined the club a couple of months later in March. Entered his very first club race and won it overall. So it's like, hey, this guy's on a holy terror. And then he did what was really impressive. And I'm going to ask you a question about this later, Colby. Um, did Oceanside, and and then Lottie, and then with Oceanside qualified, got a roll down for Lottie and did well at Lottie, and we'll talk about that as well. One thing that Colby told me about, and Colby, you remember when you said you 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 didn't like to swim at Oceanside because it was in the harbor, and you would
Yes.
much rather swim in the open ocean. I'm
Yeah.
like, that's not normal. Tell me about that. Let's get started. First of all, again, welcome. Thanks so much for being on here.
Yeah, of
And
course.
tell me about that. Tell me about that swim at Oceanside and why you like swimming in the ocean.
I feel like for me, like a big part of it is like the mental, because I'm not a good swimmer at all. I just kind of learned how to swim probably a couple months before Pumpkinman. So didn't really know how to swim properly. And then Oceanside was going to be my first ever wetsuit swim, first ever open water swim. So I was kind of looking forward to the ocean, just like the salt water, like the buoyancy definitely helps. But I also lived in Hawaii for a bit, so I felt a lot more confident than a lot of people like in the waves and stuff. So I feel like it gave me an edge that I'd be more calm versus in like a lake situation where everyone's already used to it and stuff.
That's just so backwards, so counterintuitive. It's like if we could, you know, turn that into a pill of some sort and give it to people, I'd pay $1 million for it. Would rather swim in the ocean, in the waves and in the swells and going out through the breakers than in a calm lake. It's like, you're
Yeah,
not normal. So you make a good triathlete.
try, but swim's always the struggle.
Yeah. Well, apparently not. I mean, you finished eighth and qualified and got, made it to Lottie based on that race. So you did really well.
Mhm.
And there's another thing I'd like to ask you about is the one of the pictures that we posted on the announcement was
Yes.
you and your dad, which was really unique. And your
Yes.
dad is, as John has mentioned, is a stellar triathlete. He's strong as can be, very fast and very smart, and he races well. And you were able to pass him at Lottie. But what was really cool is the fact that you passed him right when there was a cameraman right there.
Yeah.
And the cameraman got the two of you. If the folks listening, if you haven't seen that picture, knowing the background of it, it's really a remarkable picture. So tell me, Colby, whenever that happened, when you saw you were coming up behind your dad, talk me through that.
So at that race, it was based off age category start. So he started ahead of me by, I'm not going to say the exact time, but a time ahead of me. And so my goal was to pass him on the bike. I knew it was reasonable. I'd probably do it with, we thought around 10 miles to go ish. And so we are ripping around the course. And I see him up in the distance. I'm like, I'm just going to go as hard as I can past him and act like nothing is wrong.
Did you talk to him at all when you passed him?
No,
No
I don't
way.
remember. I think it was just so cold and rainy that
Yeah.
both of us were just kind of in that focus on not like crashing or anything like that. So came up behind him, passed him, kind of gave him the look of I passed you, and then just kept going, didn't look back. And then a couple weeks after we were looking at the pictures and I was looking through his pictures, I'm like, man, that looks like a familiar kit. And then it turns out that it was me and him. And that was like our only bike pictures that we had out of the whole race. And it happened to be us two together, which was
Yeah,
pretty
that
cool.
is so cool. Did you print that and frame it?
Yes, we did.
There's no doubt. Where'd you put it?
I'm not sure. I did.
It's and talking about how you did so well on the bike and that
Mhm.
you've got. I remember your dad. Your dad, first of all, when you passed him, you didn't do any damage to him. He was quite proud of you. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, that's like I said. You didn't do any damage to his ego at all.
Yeah.
But what is your FTP on the bike?
Right now I'm around the 185-ish range. I mean, sorry, 285 range.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
285. That's insane for and you're 19 years old. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Well,
So
I love this that in a year you go from starting triathlon to qualifying for a 70.3 World Championship, and then to top it off, you get that picture with your dad, which is just that's an iconic picture.
Yeah.
So I want to actually take a step backwards, though. I always like to find out why people even did their first triathlon. So what was it that got you to even register for Pumpkinman, and how far in advance did you actually train for that?
Um, so when I lived in California, I was mountain bike racing for a high school team. So I kind of got a feel for the bike and stuff. And then one day my dad's like, "You're coming on the road bike with me. Try to hang on." And I did not do well. And from that day, it was kind of like, okay, I need to get faster than him, be better than him at this. And
yeah,
then
yeah, he's smart. He knew what he was doing.
yeah, we moved out to Vegas and I started riding with a couple people here and then met Luigi, who was he was a huge push into, hey, you should try triathlon. You know how to run, you know how to bike, jump in the water and learn how to swim.
Love
So
it.
he was kind of a big push. He was my first coach who really guided me through that and got me like into a position where I was confident that I could swim and I could bike and run like all three back to back
No.
and not have to like walk or worry about just crashing or anything.
If I can
And
jump
then,
in here, did
yep,
Luigi also work with your swim stroke?
yes,
He helped you swim
yeah, he kind of
and
helped me with
technique.
everything. Yeah.
Wonderful.
And then he was like, "Hey, you should sign up for Pumpkinman." I was like, "I don't know, I'm kind of nervous about it." He said, "Just sign up, and once you're signed up, you can't go back."
Yeah,
So signed up probably a month out and then just went at it from there.
I love it. So that's fantastic. I love that. I actually didn't know the story of you starting, so that's really neat to hear that you got involved with one of our, legend triathletes here in town, Luigi.
Yeah.
That's great. I actually was thinking it was through your dad, but this is really neat to hear that it was a different pathway into the sport.
My dad definitely helped, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was gonna
yeah,
say it's
yeah.
kind
it's
of a
kind of
That's
team.
both of
great.
them together.
You had two folks pushing you at the same time in
Yeah.
the triathlon. Yeah.
Oh, that's fun. And so, as you get into Pumpkin Man, did you go preview the bike course especially? No,
Nope.
you just did
I
it.
knew it
I
was
love it.
uphill and I liked riding uphill, so I was like,
Oh,
I'm just gonna go for it.
Oh, that was
oh,
the first time you had seen that course?
I've ridden the RMT trail, but I didn't really know the exact course. I just
Yeah,
knew that there was the hill somewhere in it.
yeah, right on.
yeah. Somewhere in it. The
Yeah.
whole thing's a hill.
I love it. I love it. So which kind of bike did you start off on?
For that race, it was the TT bike I ride now. It was
Okay. All right.
hand me down from my dad, so that
Yeah,
was
that's
it.
awesome. All right. So Pumpkinman was that year that the swim got canceled. You're in transition. Obviously, it was canceled last minute because of the weather, the wind. What was going through your mind as there was no announcement yet, and you were going to have to swim in this crazy wind? What was going through your mind then? And then when they said no swim, how did you transition to saying, all right, I'm going to just bike and run out all out?
Uh, at the start, I was super nervous. I didn't
Hmm.
know how I was in the open water. I didn't know where to place myself, like if I was in the
Yeah.
front of the pack, mid pack. So I
Hmm.
was just kind of like standing back, listening to people, trying to gauge where I think I might be, but
Hmm.
also in a spot where it would make me push myself to go faster on the swim. But
Had
I
you
was,
learned had you learned how to sight
no, I
before?
still don't sight
Good
very well.
Lord, man.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That takes some courage.
Yeah. I kind of knew the course for the swim. It was kind of basic, so I wasn't too worried about the sighting, but I was definitely nervous. And then heard some people saying, "Oh, they canceled the swim," and I was like, "There's no way they canceled it. It's not that bad." And then when they made the official announcement, I went from super nervous to this is going to be the best thing ever.
I love
So
it.
yeah,
That's
Had
great.
some divine intervention there.
yeah,
So what did you think of the bike course?
I enjoy it a lot.
Yeah.
I wished it wasn't as windy, just because I wasn't 100% used to the TT position yet.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
kind of new to that,
Hmm.
but I would love to do that course again. This year I couldn't just with injuries and stuff, but definitely a fun course.
I love
Hey,
it.
whenever you they started you from the transition area, they went according to I believe it was your bib number or your position on the in the racks. So when did you start? I
I
can't
was
remember
supposed
exactly how they started this.
I was supposed to start with the just like the age groupers, but because I was so young and I had like the 18 on my leg, they put me up with the collegiate kids.
Mm.
So I just went
Okay.
in the very back of the collegiate group and then kind of just went mid pack with them, kind of towards the back, and then ahead of all the age groupers though.
Yeah.
Mhm. That helped. Did you pick off any of the collegiates?
I picked off almost all of them within the first
That's
5 miles.
awesome.
I figured.
All right. Well,
And go
now
ahead.
Bob's next favorite question, which I'm going to jump and beat him to, is you get off the bike. What was the run like?
That was probably the first time I've actually like ran off the bike. Like I've done jogs here and there, but nothing like competitively off the bike or
This is
high
amazing.
like high heart rate, high intensity, anything like that. So as soon as I started the run, I was like, what am I doing out here? My legs started cramping, the lactic acid, everything. So I started to almost panic a bit because I'm like, I don't know if I can run anymore. But then I just saw a couple people out and I'm like, just put your head down, go for it. Try to crack the 20 minutes on the run.
Yeah.
Oh,
And yeah,
did you crack 20 minutes on that run? Good grief, man.
Yeah.
You're in the sixes, low sixes.
for
That's great.
Minute
5K.
per mile, low 6 minute pace.
Yeah.
Good grief.
That is awesome. That's really great. So now you hit the finish line, your very first race. What was going through your mind as you crossed that line?
Did you know you were in third?
I had no idea what place I was in. I thought I did pretty well, but I didn't think I did that well. It was more of like I was proud, I would say, proud to say that I did it
Hmm.
and that I could do it going into the future, being more confident towards other races.
Hmm.
Um, I would, it wasn't like a happy moment. It was more of just like a surreal, like I don't really know
Hmm.
how to feel kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
thing.
Oh, that's great. Well, and it is. I mean, that first one, you just don't know. You don't know, and you have that change at the swim, and yet you change. You were ready and you adapted as you needed to. I love
Yeah.
that. So after Pumpkinman, how soon was it before you registered for another race, or were you already registered for something?
I think I was already registered for Oceanside at that
Okay.
point. That
All
was
right.
like my warm up, learn how to transition a little bit,
Yeah.
get the feel for it.
So as going forward then, what was it after that race where you said, okay, I'm going to work on this, or which elements did you bring into your training program at that point?
At that point, we really focused on bike to run transitions
Okay.
because I didn't know anything about the swim transition, so we kind of just stuck with the regular swimming. But we really focused on the off the bike runs and like brick workouts like that,
Hmm.
just to get a feel for how your body should react off the bike,
Yeah.
especially after a hard ride. And then just higher intensity running, just
Hmm.
keep that endurance up.
And Colby, just to tack on to what John asked, your first triathlon, usually people don't do as well, but that's where we learn what we don't know and what we have to work on and what you know,
Yes.
that's where you learn. It's like, hey, I need to figure this out. What
Mhm.
what were those that you actually, was there any revelations in your first race? It was like, oh, holy cow, I didn't know that.
I'd say the biggest was nutrition. For that race, I didn't drink anything. I didn't take a single gel. I didn't do any food before. It was just kind of go out there and
Love
see
it.
what happens. So nutrition was a huge focus after that as well.
Yeah.
And hydration.
Yes.
You didn't drink on the way up the hill?
I couldn't really in the wind. I didn't want to take my
Yeah,
hands off
that's
the
right.
bike.
Yeah,
That
that's still
was a
amazing
windy
though.
day. All right, so now let's transition into doing Oceanside, which would be your very next race. So you go from a sprint at Pumpkinman
With no
to
swim.
a 70.3, 1.2 mile swim, 56-mile bike, and half marathon. What was going through your mind? We talked a little bit about it on the start line of Oceanside, and that was another that was an adjustment at last minute too, right?
Yeah. That one was just pure nerves.
Yeah.
Nothing but nervous.
Uh,
Uh, I don't even think I was excited. I was so scared what to expect. I didn't know what to do. It was pretty cool lining up with my dad.
yeah.
Like we got to walk to the start together because we're kind
Mhm.
of close in the swim.
Mhm.
And then right as we were about to get into the water, I started talking with some other guy, which kind of just takes your mind off of everything.
Mhm.
The swim was super cold. I got out of the water,
That's right.
ran through transition, and my body locked up. So I
Oh,
didn't know what to do. I was so cold.
yeah.
And then my dad comes through transition, just yells at me, get on your bike and go. You'll warm up then. Hopped on the bike, super fun course. Didn't know what to expect. Um, I don't even really know what happened on the bike, but
Well, how was that hill? You know, that one hill on the base that it's like, it's long, it's like 3/4 of a mile.
I really like
Did
that hill.
you like that?
Yeah.
You're
I like
crazy.
any hill. Um, yeah, it was pretty good. I didn't feel terrible.
Yeah.
Then the run came and I had no idea what to expect. Never ran 13 miles before. Longest was like 10, and that was on fresh legs. So I was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go out at the pace I was set to and try to hang on to that.
Yeah.
Didn't work out, but it's part of the learning. So
Yeah.
Yeah, but still good enough for eighth place. That's crazy good.
yeah.
Well, I love it, and I totally get, where you're at when you say I wasn't sure where, what was going on the bike, because a lot of times you're just absorbed in the moment and you're focusing on that. And the Oceanside bike course, it's got some little technical parts. So, you got some no pass zones, you've got some, downhill speed zones. And so there's a lot to be focused on, and it can be a crowded bike course. So I totally get that. But how did you do on the downhill where you had to keep it under, is it 25 miles per hour? I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, it was
No,
25.
it was lower
Yeah.
than that. Wasn't it like 18? It was
No,
it
no,
was
That was 25.
yeah.
25? Okay.
I
But-
was struggling on that. I
yeah,
wanted to just go. People
I
were
bet.
passing me, but I'm like, I'm not getting disqualified. I'll
Uh,
hang back a little. I think I went about 20 just to be on the safe side.
yeah.
I was staring at that speedometer the entire hill.
Yeah, yeah. So on that course, it probably was more cyclists around you than Pumpkinman. So
Mhm.
what was it like biking on that course?
It was a little bit frustrating.
Hmm.
there was a lot of people that I had to pass, and I didn't really know how the passing worked at that time.
Right.
I didn't know how the drafting, like
Mm-hmm.
the exact draft distance
Right.
worked. So it's kind of stressful just
Mm-hmm.
knowing that at any moment I'm kind of close to this person. I might get a penalty or something,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
or I had to cross the center line quite a bit as well, just because like double passing people
Yeah.
or
Mm.
people would just jump out. So it was a bit to like adjust to, but about halfway through I started to really feel comfortable and kind of learned it. Um, and it was fun, obviously, to pass
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Kind of gives you that motivation.
Yeah. I bet you smoked that hill, so that's awesome. All right, so then you talked about the run a bit, and first time doing 13 miles. Not even that is. I love it. Go,
Yeah.
Colby. This is such a quiet confidence that you have, and obviously you've got some great talent in this area too. So the run, it's a two loop run course with those short uphills and short downhills. What were those like?
The first half of the first half loop felt great until there's the Red Bull arch and it's like that slow climb.
Yeah, yeah.
And I just started walking. I was like, I can't run anymore. I started walking.
Well,
Um,
as you know, you weren't alone.
yeah, I there was a bunch of us and we're all like
Yeah,
looking at each other. Yeah, we're walking.
yeah, yeah.
And then came around the first loop and I ran past my dad and he's looking at me smiling and stuff. And I'm just like, I got one more loop of this. Are you kidding me?
I got to do this again.
Yeah. And then it was a struggle, but managed to finish it. Felt pretty confident in
Yeah.
it. So
I love it. So you finished that one, and now that's your second race, and that had to feel good. It's a bigger race, bigger sort of production. But I think the big story was qualifying for Lottie 70.3, and really cool that both you and your dad were able to get a spot. What was it like when you realized you got a qualifying spot?
it was quite nerve-wracking because I was like, I have Oregon coming up, and then this one, I don't know what to expect for a Worlds. It's my
Yeah,
first race, so I was just like kind of nervous, but knowing that he got a spot, I was like, okay, it's gonna be
that's
a
right.
good
So he
trip.
got a spot, and then we were waiting to see if you got
Yes.
one too,
Yeah, I
right?
was the
Yeah,
very
yeah,
last person to get a spot, so that was
yeah.
we were kind of making a joke that he's gonna get the spot and I won't. So it's kind of stressful sitting there waiting, hoping.
Yeah, how cool is that? You both getting it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was good motivation to really focus on training at that point and have like a future goal that's bigger than just a regular race.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you notice that after Oceanside, did you get a lot faster?
I noticed after Oregon, I got
Mhm,
like overnight, it felt like I just a gear changed and it just
mhm.
went uphill from there.
Yeah.
What do you attribute that to? What do you think that caused that?
I think a big part of it was swim confidence because it was downriver. And then on the bike, I went way too hard. So I learned that I
At
can,
Oregon.
yes, at Oregon, I went way too hard and learned how hard I can really ride a bike and then what my limit is on the run and like how to balance that. So I think that's where I learned that I need to focus more on the zones versus just being fast.
You
Mm.
you, you got have to teach me that. That's something I still struggle with.
I still struggle with it.
Yeah. Well, and I'm glad you're talking about that because I was interested in that too. Here in a short year, you've gone from a sprint to really focusing in on some 70.3. So you had Oregon 70.3, and then you still had Lottie at that point. How did your training evolve? It sounds like you went more technical with the zones, but how about in terms of volume or time spent in each sport? How did you approach it?
Um, so leading up to Oregon, we really focused on swim. We almost doubled it per week
Wow.
just
Mm.
just to really get like repetition in.
Yeah.
Shorter swims, but high intensity. Riding, we kind of kept it the same. Running was more just tempo,
Hmm.
not super hard, not killing yourself on anything. And then after Oregon, I switched coaches to Ted and he started making me slow down even more.
Hmm.
That kind of the zone two, really focus on form for the swim and everything like that.
And was that on all three disciplines?
Yes.
Slowing down?
Yes, slowing down a lot. Just trying to prevent injuries before a big race. And yeah, it's kind of,
And just, is that when you got faster?
I think so. Yeah. I think it was just a mix
That's an
of
important
everything
point.
just kind of clicking together.
That's an important point because you're so strong,
Mhm.
but still going slower made you
Yes.
probably recover more
Yeah.
and get faster. That's real. I'm glad that came up.
Mhm. Well, it is, and Colby's been getting faster every race, and so it's really cool to see that. Now, I do want to touch on Latvia a little bit, but then I also want to talk about what you're doing for 2024. So maybe give us a little bit of sense of what it was like to be at the World Championship in Lahti, and how the weather was so beautiful too.
Coming up to the start line, I would say was the most nervous I've been for a race, knowing that I'm starting
Yeah.
like second last group around a bunch of kids my age who all know how to swim a lot better than I do,
Mhm.
followed by another age group that's also great swimmers. So it's kind of nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
Um, had an incident on the swim, kind of slowed down,
Right.
didn't get the swim as good as I wanted.
Tell us about that. A lot of people don't know what happened.
So I was drafting off someone's heels, going great, and then the first age grouper behind, like group behind us, passed, and I was just kind of confused, like, how is that guy going so fast?
Mhm.
So I lost focus for a minute, and then I got kicked in the face,
Oh,
had like a tiny little cut on my lip, and so I popped up, and I was bleeding a lot, so I thought it was a lot worse.
oh.
Went to the uh help boat, whatever, and they
Mhm.
wanted to pull me from the race, but I said no. Kind of fought with them a little bit. They
Yeah.
let me continue. Then got out of the water and it was pouring rain. Transition bag was soaked, so I couldn't put on arm warmers because they were already wet. Um, but it was kind of fun knowing that you're in the back of the group, like you're
Mhm.
near the last person. Like looking at the bikes, there was maybe 100 bikes left out of the 2,500 competitors. So knowing that you have something to chase was like a mental thing that I like to do, at least
Yeah.
knowing that I'm chasing someone and there's always going to be someone to like after that person.
Yeah.
Um, then we got to the run. It's probably my favorite run course I've ever
Oh,
run in general that I've done.
yeah.
It went super good. And then until about mile 8 or 9, then my shin splints
Mm.
really like took a turn for the worse, had to
Mm.
slow it down, but it was still a fun, good
Yeah.
competitive race.
Yeah. Well, that is amazing to go and race a world championship, but then also do it in a whole different country and Lahti, just a beautiful area. So neat that you were able to absorb that. And the weather was just a terrible day. I mean, it was probably the coldest you've raced at in the races you've done. But that was really a testament to your courage and your ability to race under tough conditions. So that's awesome. So you crossed the finish line, and that must have felt pretty cool too.
Yes, that was I think it was the first time I actually celebrated crossing a finish line.
Yeah,
So that was quite cool just
yeah,
knowing
And
that
that was
all the
quite a
kids
finish
around.
line too. So
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
what did it feel like running down that carpet?
Um Pain.
yeah.
Oh yeah, your
But
shins
also
were
just
hurting.
pure joy, I would say. It
Yeah.
was just
That's awesome.
a moment you don't know what it's gonna be until you're there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is so great. I mean, so neat that you even recognize that this is such a special moment. And again, to do it with father son doing that race together, that's really neat. And that picture you have is just iconic. All right,
Yeah.
give us a quick snapshot on what you're doing in 2024 because we want to keep an eye on you.
Yeah, what do you got
As
coming?
of right now, looking at Oceanside,
Mhm.
St. George, Victoria, and Oregon.
Oh
A
wow.
mix
Wait,
of
all
those
of those
three.
70.3s?
Yes, all
Yeah,
70.3s. A mix of those three, not sure which three yet,
yeah.
but those are the main focuses right now.
Oh, I love it.
You
And
know,
our
I
Tri
bet you
Club
we
events.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see you do St. George.
Mm,
I mean, because that is just a custom made for you
yeah.
with that hill.
Well,
Yeah,
I
I don't know
love
what
this.
that course is like. I just know it's hilly.
Yeah, I mean your bike run combo is really strong, and so it's so neat to see you getting better with your swim, and it's going to be a lot of fun to see your trajectory continue to rise upward. So, Colby, thank you so much for jumping on and doing this call. Again, we're both Bob and I looked at each other when we realized we haven't had you on, and we're like, how did we miss Colby? It was really, really neat to see how you've gotten into triathlon and how quickly you've, really taken to the sport. So thank you for doing this. And again, congratulations on the races you've already done.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and thanks again for being on, Colby, and just please don't get hurt. I mean, don't get injured. And Ted is wonderful about this. So
Yep.
you listen to him.
Yeah, no, I love
Trying
it.
to.
And I just got to say, I also really admire your courage and just going and doing the race and just taking it on. I think that is really a neat quality to have and a real, nice, quiet confidence that you have. So it's going to be a lot of fun seeing you go forward. So thank you again.
Yep. Thank you.
See you later. Thanks again.